So, dudes, you know, I think most men don't want their hairline to end up like this guy. And today's sponsor is going to help you with that. 2 out of 3 men are going to experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35. And those numbers look a lot worse if you play Rainbow Six Siege. Today's sponsor, Keeps. Today's sponsor, Keeps, is dedicated to helping you keep your hair and prevent hair loss. And you won't need to start your hat collection like your old man's got too soon. And the best part is, you don't have to go out to get treated. With Keeps, you can visit your doctor online. It takes about 4 to 6 months for the treatment to start working effectively, so if you notice something, you should probably start now. With recent events, I think it's perfectly reasonable to file for an extension on your 20s and your hairline. Check out keeps.com/Gregor to get 50% off your order, and thanks again to Keeps for sponsoring this video. In the next patch for Rainbow Six Siege, we will all be introduced to a new tool to deal with Defender utility in line with the introduction of new bomb guy Flores. The patch is dropping relatively soon, so I'm gonna assume that this is what people will be getting. A weapon that takes up a secondary slot with a tiny explosive range that is negligible, that only has 1 shot, and gets sniped by Jaeger ADSs and WMI discs. Compare this to a frag grenade, take into consideration that everybody with a frag grenade gets 2 of them. You can throw them from behind cover, you can bounce them off walls, they have a large explosive radius, they can kill enemies, you can cook them to detonate on top of stuff or below through the floor. Now, let's take some operators that have frag grenades currently. Let's take away those frag grenades and then give them this device that can only destroy gadgets with direct line of sight in a very small radius and is countered by the exact same things that counter frag grenades, and you only get 1 shot, do not miss your chance to blow. This thing is just objectively worse frag grenades. Why? The one instance I can see this thing being useful is with Yana, who already has frag grenades. The fact that she has a Gonne-6 plus frag grenades, she basically gets 3 opportunities to get rid of Defender utility, which is really nice. On everybody else, what the heck, man? I approach this topic now because I recently got a question regarding Finka's loadout on stream. Now, aside from telling them that they shouldn't be playing Finka at all, I said, as I do to most questions on my stream that are completely down to personal preference, it's up to you, man. But then I thought about it a little bit more. And then I realized that maybe I'd actually prefer using the pistol over the Gonne-6 in most circumstances. Hell, I'd most definitely use the SMG-12 over the Gonne-6 on Dekebi, especially because her only primary options are long-range weapons that lose their effectiveness compared to shotguns, SMG-11s, and other fast-firing SMGs that defenders have up close. Why in the world would anybody ever want to use the Gonne-6 over the SMG-12 on Dekebi? And this is the one situation where I will make a statement for console Siege players. Nobody in their right mind would want to use the SMG-12 on console. My argument to buff the Gonne-6 is based on 2 main points. The first point is that the Gonne-6 fires a literal bullet. And as much as I hate giving a point to the
actually, the K1A is an SMG according to the Korean army. Actually, the 416 is a carbine, not an assault rifle. Actually. You see, I'm a bit of an expert on these things because I used Google search.
I don't want to give these guys too much credit, but I think they got this one right. Some mechanics should be capable of being picked up on by a little bit of intuition. It was for this reason that Thatcher disabled everything, instead of destroying and disabling some things. We made that change because this was very confusing. How do you keep track of all the things that get disabled but not destroyed and vice versa? Same thing here. The Gonne-6 fires a bullet, and so does every other gun in Rainbow Six Siege. Does the Jaeger ADS snipe Kali sniper rifle rounds? No, of course not. And my second point is that even if it made sense in the realm of Rainbow Six Siege's lore and logic, it's still a bizarre gameplay choice because Jaeger and WMI render this thing pretty much useless. It is there to get rid of Jaeger ADSs and WMI discs. Not much else than that. This gadget will not serve the role of a utility destroyer. I think it will serve the role of a Jaeger ADS and WMI disc burner. This is something that Zof Ash, and anybody with stun grenades already do better. Now, I'm not a tanker, I haven't served in the armed forces, but I've shot a number of different guns, and I can tell you that, well, bullets are really fast. If you're not familiar with how a trophy system works, in the most baby learns military hardware way possible, it's a device that uses radar to detect a projectile coming towards it. Once that projectile is detected, a computer calculates that projectile's trajectory and then calculates the angle at which to fire a cocktail of charges, ripping it up into tiny little pieces, and usually as a result of this, detonating it before it even touches its target. You can see here that the fact that Jaeger's ADSs snipe enemy explosives out of thin air and make them disappear entirely is a bit of a cop-out for gameplay reasons. In reality, the explosives of a sniped grenade would not be magically inert, so it would still leave some kind of explosion, just thankfully further away from where you would be. A trophy system that could snipe grenades would need to be built different, like me, than the type of trophy system you would put on a tank, because grenades are, well, a lot smaller than, say, a guided missile. Now, with things like rocket-propelled grenades, which typically move at a speed of about 300 meters per second, that's certainly not slow, but they are big enough and moving slow enough for the trophy system to render them useless. When it comes to bullets, there's not exactly a whole lot you can do, because it's really tiny and it moves 3 times as fast as a rocket-propelled grenade. I could see the argument for a device like Wamai's magnets, which are very much along the lines of science fiction. But for gameplay reasons, it would seem a bit odd that it can't stop any other kind of bullet in midair if it can stop these. If the only distinction between this device and this device is that one of them happens to get rid of things like deployable shields, then maybe it should be visually designed different to make that obvious. The average noob is going to look at this thing and see that it's basically a giant gun, then watch it get sniped by a Jaeger ADS and wonder what the hell just happened. You might remember some of this design philosophy of mine that I talked about in my video on removing withstand from Zofia. Less confusion makes it easier to maintain this game's longevity, something that rises higher and higher into the air as a question as the game enters into the 6th year of its lifespan. And as for my second point on the fact that the Gonne-Six is so easily counterable, I just want to know why. What is the point in this thing getting wrecked by Jaeger and Wamai, 2 operators that we have spent the past year trying to reel him in because we thought that one of them was too powerful and he has a 99% pick rate? Oh my gosh, this is terrible. What are we gonna do? We need to bring Jaeger's pick rate down. Quick, let's add something he can counter. Wait, for some reason, it seems like we are incapable of just biting the bullet on something that Jaeger cannot counter. He has to be able to cover everything. We already introduced Wamai to counter the out-of-control Capital bolt meta. As far as I can remember, that was the main reason Wamai was added. Oh, just kidding. That was not why they added him. There are so many gadgets in this game that technically, quote, don't have counters. It's not about whether or not there is a button that a player presses in response to another player pressing a button. So much of Siege's metagame comes down to planning, thinking ahead, and bringing the right tools for the job. Why should the Gonne-Six be any different, considering the fact that one has to give up their fragging potential and the movement speed buff one gets from having a handgun? If the Jaeger and Wamai counter needs to stay, fine. Just give the Gonne-Six another bullet. It already is just worse frag grenades. And we have tons of operators in the game with frag grenades. Is it the end of the world? Has Rainbow Six evolved into a frag grenade meta? Do frag grenade operators skulk across the face of the earth, preying on the weak and afraid? No. Because Ubisoft keeps getting rid of them. If you look at the model of the Gonne-Six, it looks like a big-ass break-action gun that can fire these rounds one at a time. I don't think that the art team would have put together an asset like this hand cannon, make it look like a break-action gun, and then decide, we're not going to animate the reloading part. That seems so weird to me. Why even make it look this way at all if it's deliberately designed not to operate this way? Ubisoft had to have tested out this feature at some point and decided not to implement it. So I'm assuming that this is a topic that they have discussed at length amongst each other already. I don't work for Ubisoft, and I don't know things that people at Ubisoft don't. I'm just a guy who's been playing Rainbow Six Siege for a long time, and I can tell you that I can't think of that many situations where I might use the Gonne-Six. And neither can a lot of people, evidently. If I really, really need to get rid of something that I'm anticipating the defenders will bring that needs to get blown up, I'm gonna bring Sledge. Because he has frag grenades. Until he loses those too. Deuces.